What do you get when you combine $18 million and two Nepo babies together? Let's find out. So this weekend we saw a movie called Novocaine and Mr. Pancakes. What do you think about these two Nepo baby movies that we saw?
So it wasn't Dennis Quaid and Jack Nicholson making
No,
it.
no, no. It is Jack Quaid and Ray Nicholson.
Well, Jack Quaid we're familiar with from a beloved show we love with the boys. So, and we saw him briefly in Oppenheimer. Ray Nicholson, I know, had a breakout role in Smile, right?
Yes.
All
Well,
right.
not a breakout. I mean, he's been in a few things, but
Right.
Smile, he was smiling a lot.
But you look at that face. There's no mistaking that's Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
Kid.
you can.
That's a dead resemblance. No DNA test needed. But talking about the movie itself, Jack Quaid playing this character that can't feel pain, nicknamed Novocaine from childhood bullying. I think it's an actual condition for real.
Yeah, it's a real condition. It's a totally real condition, and yeah, it's kind of cool when you think about it. It's like, hey, I can't feel any pain. It makes you feel like you're a superhero, but you're not.
Yeah, it makes you take really bad risks, but bad ideas, but you can get away with it.
Right,
But
exactly.
you don't know how much damage you did to yourself.
No, you don't.
Just look how badly he was banged up by the end of the movie.
Right, exactly. So let's start off with the basics, right? This movie, budget wise, it was 18 million dollars. Not a big budget, but not a small budget.
But it didn't look low budget to me.
Well, that's what I was getting at. It was such a good budget number, and everything in this movie, everything, for the most part, was practical. You know, there wasn't an abundance of CGI. There wasn't anything crazy. Everything looked realistic and, look, you know. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that you saw where every single dollar went. And I loved it. I love the fact that we got a movie where it wasn't overly glorified with CGI, right?
Right.
It was a movie that had some sort of star power with, our friend Jack from the show The Boys, right? Who unfortunately keeps playing the same role. He is like a simp always in every single TV show or movie that he's playing. Like, I don't get it. Talk to me. What do you think? What do you think of Jack Quaid?
he was playing that fun, naive, but character that doesn't know better. He has good intentions, but gets himself in an ass backward situation.
Right.
He keeps sinking down the hole just in case he can't mess up more. He needs help, and he's looking around, but he eventually gets out somehow.
That is about Jack Quaid. What did you think of the other Nepo baby, Ray Nicholson?
He was very good in his role as the main villain, like that crazy psycho entertaining. You don't want to root for him, but he has like that dark comic side to him.
Here's the thing. How I see Ray, he was like stereotypical 90s bad guy.
Yeah, I can see
That's
that.
what he was. He was just, I'm going to do what I have to do. Doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if I have to kill my own sister. What? You just came out of nowhere with...
So let me ask you this: It was a twist for me, but was it predictable for you or a twist when they were robbing the bank in the Santa outfits? Ray Nicholson and his crew, and the inside person was the girl. No, was the girl who turned out to be his sister that got him access to the vault.
I don't think it was too obvious, but you kind of saw where this was going, especially after the scene where they're in the room and they're all just sitting there, and you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
What's going on here?
She looked distressed, like like any villain in that, and then all of a sudden they having a casual conversation.
Yeah.
But maybe we should have picked up on it when they were in the bank and have everybody hostage, and they shot dead the bank manager, but how come they're not killing her?
Yeah, I'm going over it in my head again, and I just don't see the connection there. Like to me, it felt like they were different people.
They were.
Like not different people in the sense where they're not related.
Well,
right?
as the movie unfolds, you see that this is a heist they pulled over and over again. I wish they put in flashbacks so we could see more.
Yeah, that's the one thing I hated about the storyline was the fact that they missed out on giving us some little like backstories on each of them. Like, sure, when all of them were just sitting in the room and they were talking, you kind of grasp the concept of, okay, they work here, they do this together, they've done this, they've done that. But then all of a sudden you get a slap in the face like, well, you're my sister and he's my brother. And you're like, okay.
So I guess that was the limitations on it. All the budget went towards the effects and making Jack, how messed up could we make Jack Quaid? Like burning his hand in a fryer, get the gun to kill one of the robbers.
Look, as crazy as what we're saying sounds, these things really did happen. It was an intense movie, and I loved every second of it.
That's what made it so fun about it.
Yes.
I mean, I unfortunately, it looks like it's gonna get lost in the shuffle of movies that came out. It might not make a lot of noise, but it caught our attention. We liked it. We think you should see it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for a movie that had an $18 million budget, and it's in the first week, as of the recording of today, it's made $12.5 million. It's not bad, considering that there was, to my knowledge, barely any advertising for it, because we didn't see too much of it. Like, oh, hey, look, Novocaine, like, we had no idea about it.
What did you think of Amber Midhunter's?
Okay.
I know there's a movie you like her from, so.
So she played in Prey.
The Hulu
Predator prequel, sequel,
whatever you want to call it, yeah.
Midquel, everything quill. And I thought she was amazing in that movie. But in this movie, like, I liked her, but I didn't feel like it was like they made her play like she went from playing a great badass in Prey to playing a ditzy little, not ditzy, but like a little girl, like, oh, I love that guy.
But
like,
she was part of
she could have done so much more.
Yeah, she was part of the bigger plot, which like going back to what I mentioned, that the twist that she ended up knowing the bank robbers and it was part of a heist that can get away on a boat. Okay, that sounds pretty typical what any show or movie at that point. I thought she was fine, but I guess a little cringy when, like, you know, she realized, oh, my brother, she knew all along how much of a psycho killer her brother is, but all of a sudden she catches feelings for this guy that she's originally supposed to use.
That, mind you, that only spent one night with him, but a couple of weeks working with him.
A couple months.
Okay, fine. A couple of months.
But a short period of time.
Right, a short period of time. But they barely spoke. And then the one day that they do speak, they sleep together that night, and then the next day it's like, oh my God, I'm in love with this person.
But we're talking about a guy that, you know, lives alone. You know, he keeps his interactions with humans to a limit. His best friend is somebody he talks through online gaming that he never actually met, which we'll get to shortly.
Right.
So, you know, the fact that he's finally taking a chance, you know, and he doesn't know better. So poor Nate, you know, doesn't know better that after one night. But he's, you know,
that's also true, yeah.
But he did have a crush on her for a long time.
Yeah, but that was more of like a physical crush, right?
Yeah, attraction.
Okay? An attraction, like, you know, the first thing you do when you meet somebody of the opposite sex or of that sex, somebody that you feel like is you know, pretty, beautiful, handsome, whatever. You're like, okay, that person is attractive, but to fall in love with that person like that, whatever.
It was, you know, it was the circumstances where, you know, certain feeling, you're not thinking clearly.
Right.
Sure, a man get murdered in front of you. You know, these standards of violence. It was a whole wacky psycho situation. So feelings are going to escalate. So he's not thinking clearly. again, and his hand is almost burned off, and he's killing guys, bank robbers, chasing after him. He's answering his phone, police officers, when he's trying to stay off the radio.
You know what? Now that you mention that,
yeah.
now that you mention that, the police. I have watched many shows. I have seen many movies. I have got to say that by far, the cops in this movie are the dumbest I have ever seen ever in my life. Towards the end of the movie, the detective goes, "Oh, here, take my gun. You might need it." Who? What? When have you ever seen a cop willingly give someone who was part of a heist their piece, their gun, and tell them, take out the person because he took out my... What the... Who wrote this?
They jumped the shark one too many times.
Yes.
They might as well be on the other side of the Atlantic by then, but... The funny thing is, I do like that actress, Betty Gabriel. She was on a couple seasons of Jack Ryan. That was a serious role. Her partner, Matt Walsh, who you might know from Veep.
Right.
And he's been around forever with his comedy roles. He was like the comic relief. He was given one-liners. So
Yeah, that's all he did.
It was like a dark action comedy, if that's a good combo, if you want to put it that way.
I don't know about dark. Comedy, yes. Yeah. Dark, I did hear people were saying that it's a rom-com.
There is a love interest, a love angle,
but that doesn't necessarily.
There's more focus on the fight scenes and the action. You see him with the fright.
Exactly. Like, look at that.
Like he gets the gun.
That's insane.
That is
insane.
One good laugh is when he killed the guy's brother. He goes to the house and he's going along with the torture. He's like, "Ow, this really hurts." That was pretty funny.
I have got to say, I didn't expect it to be as funny as I thought it would.
Right.
Be. And I was pleasantly surprised that it was as funny as it was.
Now, what about Ned from the Spider-Man movies?
That's what I was going to say next. Jacob, what is it?
Batalon?
Batalon.
And, and to add to the humor of it, Nathan doesn't know what he looks like. He said he looked like Jason Momoa. He picks up a lot of girls, and he rides a motorcycle. When, he's really this short, chubby kid, bald. And he
in a Vespa.
And he's like so reluctant to help him. He's like, "I'm not getting involved," and he slowly gets dragged into it. And then he's not taking an actual bullet, but he lures the cops away. So it's this whole, but he has he cares for the guy. He views him as a general friend.
Right. Well, that's because, they're online friends. They're playing WoW.
They've known each other for years. Whatever. Yeah. He's like, "You're my only friend, man." And, he gave him the address. He came to the house to free him from being hostage, from the snare trap.
Yeah.
And his quote-unquote torture.
Oh, it hurts. Oh, that I've got to say, that was one of the funnier scenes.
But towards the end when, he's taking out the main bad guy and he's fighting Ray Nicholson's character and his arm is beyond fucked and the fact that he uses his arm bone through the jaw, that was beyond ridiculous, but one of the wildest scenes I've ever seen in any movie.
I have got to say, this movie was like a comedic version of what John Wick would have been.
I guess I could see what you're going at.
Because he just kept going.
Yes.
No matter what. Like, okay, so with his problem, right? With his condition, right? With his condition, he can't feel pain, but he could still lose blood, he could still break a bone, he could still get knocked out, he could still do all these things. But yet, he was so infatuated with this girl that nothing stopped him. He just kept pulling on and going like the Energizer Bunny.
And when he learned the dark truth that he was just used as a pawn in their plan, he could have just said, fuck this, fuck you,
Yeah, he could have easily walked out, and he didn't.
But he was so far into it, he didn't want to give up, and he saw the good in her, despite her bad intentions, but her psycho brother pushed her towards him, I would say.
Which, again, I could understand you have sibling rivalry, right? You're pissed off at your sibling or anything like that. But to come out of nowhere and put a gun to the person's head to wanting to kill them, that's a bit much.
Yeah.
That's a bit much. In a span of like, maybe this happened in like 3 minutes of, "No, I'm not going with you. Yes, you are. No, I'm not." Pulls the guns to her head. Yes, you. to me, that was a little too far-fetched, but at the same time, we're watching a comedy, right?
Yeah.
We're not watching some serious movie where it's going to win an Academy Award. So I get it. Suspend of disbelief, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think we both agree that if you got 2 hours to kill, or 2.5 hours, I think it was two
No,
and a half.
it was just under 2 hours.
Okay, if you got 2 hours to kill, I think we can
Yeah.
safely say you're gonna get entertained by this movie.
Unfortunately, it might not get the box numbers it needs to warrant a sequel, but I hope it comes one of those cult following movies.
Yes.
And with all these giant streamers that make sequels to movies anyway, like, I hope it's warrant. And I want to see where it picks up after, she's in jail, he's fully recovered. But one of the funniest things was seeing him in that body cast and said, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Oh, it's January 11th. You've been in a coma for 6 weeks. For 6 weeks, whatever it was. But yeah, if you have 2 hours to kill, go freaking see it.
I totally agree. So the question goes out to you guys. If you've seen it, do you think it's a Christmas movie?
Possibly.
It's possibly a Christmas movie, but seriously, if you've seen it, tell us how much you like it. If you want to see it, tell us what you think you like about it. But other than that, let us know in the comment section down below.